Hi, I'm reinventing my creator career. I'll call it a creator career because I didn't know whether it was going to be writing, drawing, or making stuff. I didn't know what it was. It's a reinvention. And I'm in my 50s. And this video is a little bit of an indulgence. And for anybody that's curious, my story, where I'm at in terms of choosing a niche, and then thoughts about the income streams that I could have. So I'm going to be laying those out as chapters. So if you want to jump ahead about create a niche or create incomes, you can do that. That's fine. I don't think I said my name's Joanne. The channel name is my name. And really it's about I wanted to quickly go through my story, and a lot of my story is about I thought this, then I realized I was completely wrong. I thought this, and then I realized I was completely wrong. So and it includes things like I thought I was completely stupid, so I left school at 16 and thought I'll just I'll work as a waitress or something and work my way up, or I'll work in a shop and work my way up. That's what I was thinking. And part of that turnaround was to say when I'm saying, "Oh, I thought this and then I realized this." There's a gap. There's a gap in between the two of bleh. And that gap for me, certainly when I left school at 16, I thought I was stupid, left school at 16, and then I was 21 before I had a bit of a turnaround moment. And in that period of time, I worked in a factory, I worked in an office, I worked in bars, I worked in restaurants. I spent a year in Spain working in a nightclub. I did this, I did that, whatever. That's what I was doing because I felt like people had said to me, "That's what you're capable of. That's where you belong." And I completely accepted that because I had all the evidence to say that they were right. I hadn't done hugely well at school. Nobody at school had said, "Oh, you need to stay on longer than 16." Everybody agreed that me being a waitress was my place. And I enjoyed doing the waitressing. The waitressing isn't a problem. The problem is when you're kind of torn and frustrated and feeling different things. So from 16 to 21 was frustration, confusion. Why am I so bored at these jobs? Why is everybody doing this the long way around? Every job I went to, it was like they seem to be deliberately making their lives harder, and I just couldn't understand it. At 21, a friend mentioned, kind of as a joke, doing an IQ test. I did an IQ test, and it was for Mensa, which you may have heard is a high IQ society. And it ended up that I got into Mensa. Me and my friend both got into Mensa, and both of us, we'd been to school together, both of us hadn't done very well at school. And it wasn't so much, well, there's a lot of things that happened. It wasn't so much about feeling, oh, wow, I'm really clever. It was more about kind of an added dimension to the confusion of, okay, I still do stupid things. I didn't do very well at school. What is the explanation for the everything that's been going on? The doing well on an IQ test explained why I was frustrated and bored and confused and all the mess that had been happening. But it still didn't explain why I had all that evidence about being stupid. I don't know. You probably hate the word stupid. I'm sorry about that. It's kind of how I was talking to myself. So that was a really big turning point for me. And at that point, I didn't know anything about neurodiversity type stuff, which is strange because my mom is dyslexic, but my mom couldn't read and write when she left school. She left school at 14. And so that was what dyslexia looks like. And I was able to read and write fine. That's no problem. So at 21, I get this information and I start thinking, okay, what's possible for me then? Because my assumptions about myself were completely wrong. And me and my friend actually, we're both scared about doing college or any kind of study. And as brave as we could be was to sign up for a short first aid course. And we were both terrified of failing it and all the rest. But after doing that for a few weeks and passing, we were like, okay, we can study, we can be in a classroom. And actually, this was quite fun. So we ended up, both of us, going on to do night school and then university. So I went to university at 25. And I tried to keep my options as open as possible, but I'd done a lot of work and I was attracted. All my A levels that I did were business studies and law, and I was attracted to that, but I was attracted to being um, out of the office and having some flexibility in my schedule and everything like that. So I chose a degree called land management, which is to become a chartered surveyor. I went and did that. I'd already done, I think I mentioned I'd already done a year in Spain when I was 18, working in a nightclub. I also did an exchange program going to Spain for 3 months when I was at university. I then went to work in London. None of this has anything to do with being a creator. This was all about, can I prove to myself and to others that I'm intelligent? And my answer was, I'll do another qualification and get a certificate. Because that is the way you prove yourself to others. What I didn't mention, I was very shy. I was somebody that didn't speak up in the classroom, and my mom refers to it as being reserved. I'm not completely sure what the difference is between being reserved and being shy. I know that I was chatty with people I loved and, I was close and trusted, but I was very shy and I didn't speak. And so the times when I've been in Spain, I didn't learn Spanish because I was too shy to speak. I had some friends, but I was painfully shy. What was shy in my first language was painfully shy in a second language. So I never really got anywhere with the Spanish. Got through my degree, but you have to do a 2 years qualification afterwards. So I was in London working in property, got my qualification, and this was my big break. This was going back to Spain because that had been the dream since I was about 15. I'm bouncing around my timelines here. Sorry about that. So the dream was always about Spain, and that was kind of why I chose that profession. Now I had this qualification, and the qualification meant that I could go over to Spain, work in English. I wanted to learn Spanish, but I could work in English. And I got a job in Madrid, and I was doing valuations of commercial property all over Spain. And then I was fired. In Spain, they can fire you, but they have to pay you off, type of thing. It's just the way the law is. So they don't really have to give a. They can say it's because of your work, but really they just end your contract and they have to pay you so much afterwards. And that's what happened. But I was miserable at the job. And again, it's that confusing situation of, I'm trying to prove I'm intelligent, but I'm completely, it's not working, it's not feeling right. And during that time, I'd started getting interested in the personal development world and more the spiritual side of things. And if I wanted to be a coach, this is what I was thinking, then I would have to learn how to be confident speaking in public. And so I went to a group called Toastmasters and I started learning about that. And for me, there was no connection between speaking and being confident and learning to speak in public. Learning to speak in public was, I'll have a presentation, that's what I'll do. I'll learn it. I'll learn it word for word, and then you get good at that. I don't know why I thought that's what teachers do, because obviously teachers ad lib and improv. But in my head, public speaking was something you could learn. Being more confident and speaking generally everyday life was something that was just who you were. That was your personality. That was just who you were. So again, I'm I feel like I'm using my hands a lot. I don't know whether that is that annoying on the video. There was feeling stupid and then this turnaround and there's a lot of confusion stuff. And then there was I'm trying to prove myself as intelligent, but I'm being called to something else. And what happened was I went to Toastmasters thinking I was going to learn about how to do public speaking so I could become a coach. And then I fell down the rabbit hole and I completely fell in love with public speaking and I obsessed over it. And I ended up multiple committee roles, multiple competitions to do with public speaking and traveling around. And I ended up teaching as a volunteer thing at a university, a public speaking course. And it just so happened that none of the students turned up, but a load of teachers turned up, which says a lot, really. But one of those teachers then transferred to another university. And by the time I was fired from my surveying job, this this professor who was at the new university reached out to me saying, "Can you do that course at this new university?" And I ended up working at that new university for 8 years. And they said to me, "You're fine." I mean, the guy that was introducing me, he'd already seen me work, so that was fine. He said, "Write a proposal, but just do what you did before, but you can choose the material." And as part of that, I thought, well, what's really useful is thinking on your feet. Yes, they want to do public speaking, but they also want to be able to answer a question if they're suddenly asked a question. It isn't all about remembering a speech and preparing that. And over those 8 years, the section on thinking on your feet just kind of increased and became more. And that was the area that people said they got so much help from. And I was giving them feedback. I would say probably 99% of the students had English as a second language. And here is kind of where some of my problems came is one, I had an audience or people I was serving who had English as a second language, but I wasn't teaching English. I was helping with speaking. And I was also kind of hired and known about the public speaking, but I wasn't doing public speaking. I was doing speaking. And this is where it gets messy as a creator. And and it's kind of drifting on to finding my niche, but I'll do that a bit separately. What was happening was I felt very strongly that the word I should be using is speaking. I'm helping people with speaking. But every time I said that word, they said, "Oh, you're doing public speaking." And I was like, "No, no, no, no. I'm just helping people speak and be confident." And then we were talking about English. I could work with English as a second language. And they said, "Oh, so you teach English?" And I go, "No, I'm helping with speaking and self expression and confidence and different things like that." Didn't actually say the word self expression. I had a real aversion to saying that. I felt like that was inaccurate and that I should be using the correct word, which was speaking, and that other people were using it wrong. Yes, I was very definite about that. We ended up we spent some years back in the UK. We ended up moving to Kazakhstan for a couple of years, and I was working with teachers and I was working at school the teachers were teaching English, but they had English as a second language. So what they wanted was confidence and the skills about just speaking, just everyday speaking. And I loved that. And I loved working at the school again, not teaching English, but playing and self expression. And how can you be more creative about what you want to say? And I really loved that. Then we did 2 years in Myanmar. My husband's work, I was following him with the work, and that was fine. I never really got off with the work in Myanmar. I was trying to do things online, but because I was trying to sell the idea that I can help you with speaking. And every time I said that, other people heard public speaking. Oh, she can help with public speaking. So then when I got on camera and I was really nervous, I was kind of fighting against myself because for me, being on camera is a completely new skill. That's not turn a switch on. That's a gradual I'm going to try and get more comfortable. I'm going to try and do this. I'm going to try and do that. Which is why I've been doing 30 odd days of shorts, videos every day. Turn the camera on, try and speak, try and be natural, turn it off again. Next day, next day. That's why I've been doing that whole experiment, trying to get natural. But you can see how there's conflict there, is that if the word speaking is being misunderstood by the audience, and one, they think I'm teaching English, or two, they think I'm teaching public speaking, and I'm trying to do on camera, which I am really struggling with. In fact, the whole time that I was in Myanmar, I never turned the camera on and shared a video. I'm pretty sure I never did. Oh, I forgot to say I did a TEDx talk when I was in Kazakhstan. That was exciting. So again, that was kind of, I felt that I was being understood if I talked about public speaking, but I really, really, really wanted to talk about speaking is speaking. And I've been advised to call it self-expression. But that's more recently. After Myanmar, my husband moved to Saudi. Oh, there's lots going on and I'm getting my timelines mixed up. When we were in Myanmar, the adoption of our daughter completed, and my daughter's from Ethiopia, so I spent several weeks over there. And we adopted as expats, and there are different laws and rules about doing that. So now I'd had all over this time, there'd been years of fertility treatment and different things like that. So that's kind of my home life. But obviously, home life, if it's including all family stuff and particularly medical interventions and stuff like that, that really impacts on what you can do work wise. Does that sound like an excuse? I'm hoping. I need to have compassion for me. It did impact, and obviously me bouncing around countries obviously made it a bit more complicated too. My husband moved to Saudi. Our visas never happened because my daughter was on an Ethiopian passport. I think it might have been my British passport, but I think it was to do with that. So we ended up living apart for a year, and by that time, me and my daughter were settled in the UK. She was very happy to be settled, as you can imagine. So now it was, well, am I who am I working with? Who are the customers, or who are my people? And the easy way to talk about it was, oh, do they have English as a second language or do they not have English as a second language? But as soon as I simplified it like that and spoke about, oh, I'm helping people with speaking and it's these two groups of people, what I found was I was attracting the wrong people to my work. One, people weren't paying, they were wanting just things for free. And two, I just felt so misunderstood. And I really struggled with the fact that I'm supposed to be helping you be understood, and yet I'm feeling really misunderstood. But they say the teacher teaches what they most need to learn, don't they? So a lot of that time later was just feeling very confused, trying things, writing books, getting really stubborn about, I'm using the word correctly, it's speaking, it's not public speaking, it's not learning English. So I got really quite fixed into that, and I was enjoying it, but I just thought, I need to try harder. I need to express myself even clearer. I need to explain what the word speaking means. And then I got ill, which I think I've mentioned briefly in another video. A couple of years ago, I became ill. I've now had the diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome, and the hospital is saying, learn how to manage it rather than get well. But I didn't have that diagnosis for about 18 months. So obviously during that 18 months, I was trying to get well. That's what I was spending all my money on, and any energy I had, that's what I was doing. Now this is the new normal. This is how you manage. It became increasingly important that if I do want to create, if I do want to have that sense of meaning and purpose, then I'm going to need to have that work online, because I might be housebound. And yet I knew that I hadn't really done the videos. I knew that I wasn't comfortable with videos. I knew that I was being, or I felt really misunderstood. And uh, during this time, kind of as a way of, I was trying to connect with my people and in a safe way, not being on video, not showing my face. And what I did was the cartoons, which I know I've mentioned to you before, but I'll show you again. So this is one of my cartoons. I do this thing which I now call journaling with cartoons. I have an idea or I hear some words that I like. It tends to be words that I like. And I do a very quick cartoon. And I'd been doing that. I mean, at this point I've been doing them for about 4 years. What I was trying to do was find my people. Who are my people? They'll understand from the cartoons, the books I like, my character, because it's so revealing. Certainly when you look at it as a body of work, it was so revealing. And so I'd been doing those, and I was facing the decision of, if I can't get myself to hit record and do a video, then maybe I can't do that. Maybe I can't have that kind of online business. And if I am always misunderstood, if I can't make myself understood when I'm trying to help others be understood and seen and heard, then maybe I shouldn't be doing that either. And as I say, I enjoy the cartoons, but I thought what I'm going to do is be open to change. I knew that I had a passion, I knew that I loved it, but I just wanted to be open to change. And in that mindset was when I reached out and said, I need something new. I need something new. What can I do? And I thought, oh, I'll reach out to a photographer I knew. And in the future, I'll arrange some photos. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to be in a studio having photos done because I wasn't always able to sit up for a long time. And she was talking about a morning or a day of photo shoots. And I said, I'm not going to manage that. So there was other complications around that. But I think I've done a video, I did a video earlier today where I was talking about synchronicity. So I've gone into more detail there about what happened next. But it was just like a snowball. I reached out to her about doing these photos. Next thing you know, I'm having my hair done. I'm doing a wardrobe shoot. I'm speaking to a branding specialist. I'm speaking to somebody else. I'm speaking. All these things were happening. And it was like being in a very loud room, which has just reminded me I haven't spoken about neurodiversity, have I? I didn't discover that I was dyslexic until I was 39, and it's only late 40s, 50s where I'm probably realizing autistic, ADHD, but I've never been formally tested. I'm just picking up pieces of information and learning about myself. So, anyway, snowball, lots of things happening, loud room. And the reason I mentioned loud room and then jumped to neurodiversity is loud room, overwhelming, can mean meltdowns and not handling things very well. So a lot of that has been happening over the last few months. What was interesting when I spoke to the branding specialist and I was talking about the cartoons, because I was trying to be open, I was trying to say, I don't know, maybe I'll just draw cartoons. Maybe that's okay. Maybe I'll forget about everything else that I do. And oh, it's funny. I don't know whether I've shared this story before. I didn't know what to call myself, and she was coming, and the specialist that I spoke to, I'd spoken to other branding specialists before, and they did the very traditional branding work. She is a poet. Do we say poet? Is that the right word? She writes poems and she's an artist. So she's viewing branding completely differently. And I thought that'll be a breath of fresh air. That's exactly what I need right now. Follow my intuition. That's what I need right now. So she comes back to me with these different ideas and she says she loves the cartoons and she's really excited about that. And she was giving me these different names of how I could brand myself. And she said, the girl in the red dress girl, or red dress cartoons. And I went away and I said, I quite like red dress cartoons. And she said, well, that's interesting. That wasn't really one of my main ones that I wanted to talk about with you. It was girl in the red dress or red dress girl. So I went away again and I said, come back and do And I said, "Well, what are you leaning towards?" She said, "Girl in the red dress. You're the girl in the red dress because of the cartoons having a red dress all the time." And I said, "Well, I'm leaning to red dress girl." And that's obviously a little bit of a switch around. But I'm curious what your thinking is, because you're experiencing it as a creator and an artist. What are you're getting a vibe from this? And she said, "Well, the emphasis is on the girl, on you, not the red dress in the version that she was choosing, girl in the red dress." And then she gave me, and I said, "Yes, great, we'll go with that." And she sent me the pack a little bit later. But in the meantime, I had another meltdown. And I thought, I don't really want to talk about myself that much. Doing the cartoons was a safe way of putting myself out there, but I didn't feel comfortable me talking about me and my experiences out there, which is kind of crazy considering everything that's happened since. When I did the photo shoot, I wore a red dress as kind of a plaything, and I was trying to force myself to play, but I felt very uncomfortable putting myself forward. I was much happier teaching a subject, focusing on the subject, or if it's in person, focusing on the other person. And I think that's why I've struggled so much to go on camera. Say for me, speaking and learning some skills as a speaker in one situation does not translate necessarily to being on camera and being in another situation or talking about another topic. I started to get more comfortable speaking on camera about my subject. But then when I had to be myself, which I wanted to do, I wanted to relax and sound like me. I wanted to attract my 1,000 true fans as such. It just felt like a whole new skill, a whole new world. So all of this has been the last few months. And just the other night, I realized that I needed to talk about synchronicity and intuition. And what that felt like to me was I have to share more about me again and again. So it's continually me talking about me. And I was wondering, am I writing a blog about my life? Is this the way it's going to go? And then, and as I say, when I was thinking I need to talk about synchronicity, it must have been longer, 3 nights ago, because then 2 nights ago, I realized, well, I had a voice, my own voice saying, it's time to go back. It's time to go back and talk about self expression. And what you may find is that I use the word self expression quite a lot. So this moves on to niche. Clap, clap. Moving on to niche and how I'm finding my niche. You can tell that I've had this thread going through my work career, but I was prepared to throw everything up in the air. But I'm now feeling like this is the niche. This is what I've been working on for 20 plus years. This is what I care about. And maybe I've got to call it self-expression and showing up as a creator. You and I know that I'm using self-expression instead of the word, because every time I use the word, I get misunderstood and I get really frustrated about that. But it's clearly such a powerful word that everybody understands it in a very particular way. So we can talk about self-expression. Those, I suspect that the people that like my work are probably going to be more on the sensitive side, more the empathic. And I reckon that every time you see me going, and I help people with self-expression, you're going to see straight away that I'm struggling to say the word self-expression. Maybe with a little bit more practice, maybe ask me in another month and I'll feel much more comfortable talking about it that way. But yes, niche, self-expression for the conflicted creator, for the person that's got those two voices inside of them saying, I can do this, I can't do this, and I don't want to do this, but I do want to do this. And also just feeling, that you're uncertain. Is that possible for someone like me? Because from my journey of waitressing and factory work and shop work, then going to university, then moving to Spain and Kazakhstan and Myanmar, and you don't know what's possible for you. I don't know what's possible for me. So you do not know what's possible for you. And self-expression, it is a lot about being public, and I am particularly interested about the videos, but at the moment I'm still learning and figuring out a lot of that myself. So moving on now in terms of the income streams, I've written 7 books. Yay for me. I've written 7 books. Love writing, will continue to write. Not sure that that is going to be the massive income stream. I think what I've been realizing lately is that I still want to write them. I want them to exist. And for me, that is pleasurable. I want to become better as a writer. So, writing more books, finishing the books that I've got, there's about 3 of them there, different workbooks that I've done, which before I was ill had already been to an editor. So, it's just for me to finish off. But because I was in this throw it all up in the air stage, I never finished them and got them out there. So, there's the books side of things. YouTube, which I'm now looking at, I don't know. I'm investigating that as a potential income stream in the future. But as of making this video, I have 91 subscribers, and you need 1,000 to be monetized and 4,000 watch hours. I don't have that, but I'm really curious. So there's the books I want to write. I like writing. I like that they exist. YouTube, it's fun. I do like this, and I definitely like the way social media, some areas of social media are moving about people sharing their stories rather than being fast edits and drama, that kind of thing. So there's the books, there's YouTube. I have been investigating Patreon because I heard somebody say about having, say, 100 people following you there, and then every week it was like hanging out, having a coffee and having a chat. And I thought, wow, I like the sound of having, I mean, I don't drink coffee, I don't drink tea or coffee, but I like the sound of hanging out and having a chat and being with a group of people who all are wondering, can I create, can I not, I don't know. I like that. So I have set up a Patreon account and I am investigating that. I also have a Redbubble account. If you haven't heard of Redbubble, they do the print on demand things. So a lot of the cartoons are uploaded there for stickers and for greeting cards and things like that. And occasionally a sale comes through from there. I don't know personally whether that's going to be the thing that brings in income. So there's books, YouTube, Patreon, Redbubble, and then there's in-person speaking workshops, different things like that. I did advertise doing a workshop about the journaling with cartoons because I thought I can imagine that being fun. So I'm trying to trust that intuition feeling. And I think that's about it. I think that's about in terms of the income streams that I'm investigating at the moment. I would be interested if there is anybody that reaches this far in the video and you think, you know, it's obvious she should be doing this, then write it down. Besides obvious giving up, don't be mean. Don't say obvious give up being a creator and just go get a job again. You can hear my inner demons, can't you? You can see when you look back at my cartoons, if you go to Instagram, you'll see this is the joy of having a body of work. I definitely recommend it. You can see patterns. There's loads of cartoons with doors on, like, am I allowed in here? It's my time. Is this my room? Do I belong here? All these things. And then there's also 2 little pictures of me going, I want to do this. No, I don't want to do this. I can do this. I can't do this. So that is going to be more about what this channel is about. If you're looking for an expert that has the answers for everything and has certainty and clarity and panache and whatever else that you want to call it, that's not here. But I don't suppose you'll have stayed this long. I'm really hoping that when you look at me, you see yourself and think, "That's kind of the direction that I wanna go. I wanna be me on social media. I wanna hang out with people that also wanna just be themselves and share their work and create and add to the conversation." So, where am I at? 35 minutes. I'm feeling a bit giddy and high. I really hope somebody makes it this far in the video, but I've had fun making it, and maybe you'll have fun making your videos too. Bye.